Not that, but we shall officially start in a few minutes. Until then, I must small talk. Ironry. Yeah, so we just came back from the supermarket after putting it away and disinfecting. So, yeah. So Facebook loaded me. Yeah. Okay. I'm still not seeing them, so I'm trying to refresh. I tagged you in the post. Yeah, I only see the photo yet for now. But also because of my computer being RT. Control refresh. Can you hard refresh? Control F5. Oh, did you Alt F4? Yeah. Oh. Control F4 is close tab. There, let's see it now. Hey Mitch, nice to have you join us. If you were joining us earlier, we had to reset twice. We were having some trouble. Well, only Facebook. YouTube was fine. Facebook was being weird. I tweet Sting. Hey RJ, RJ is on YouTube. Karen, hello, Karen. So we'll be starting in a few minutes. Super late. We came back from the groceries. Our microwave started doing these weird sounds. It's like a fan that's like not efficient. Which, then according to the internet, is the magnometer or something messing up. So rather than attempt my Bosconian skills on something that might blow up, we decided to just buy a new microwave. So I think I made a salesman's day because I am a very easy customer when I'm buying appliances. I'm just like, I have just a few questions, narrow things down, check if it's in stock, and then decision, let's buy it. Especially like key moment in the conversation was like, hey, what time do you close? I'm like, sir, mga 8:30. And then we both look at our watches. Now? So, yeah. So it's super cheap though. And admittedly, I mean, I felt weird. I scaled down. I bought a very small microwave with a manual dial. Because we rarely use it. Because we only use it to defrost, to reheat food, not even to defrost. Because I have the metal defrosting pad thing. So this is small talk. Then, yeah, so we got that. And then we ended up with this American Home one. I wanted Whirlpool. Go on, say it. You want to say it? I'm resisting. Say it. Whirlpool. Go on. Say it. What's the line? No, I'm resisting. What? Whirlpool. Making the world a better place. There you go. We wanted to get Whirlpool, but the one I was looking at, the manual, was out of stock. So we ended up with this American Home one. Yeah. Which is like not my favorite brand, but it's okay. Yeah, I wanted the Whirlpool one. But then, okay, admittedly, like, so this one, we got it for $2,750. It used to be 3,000 something, discount 275, whatever. And then the similar size wattage Whirlpool one was like 4,000. But I was willing to pay the 4,000 because, like, you know, Whirlpool, but it wasn't there. Yeah, American Home decent. Then they have an exclusive distribution thing with SM, so they get bigger discounts, which it's probably an older model that needs to move. But hey, it does the job because what do I heat in the microwave every day? Makito pandesal. Although I have been pan toasting it the past few days, ever since we were scared of the sounds of the microwave.
Because the sound really got spooky. It
not
got
bad.
really loud. From previously, it was just
Now it's like and then when it's done, when the cycle is done, it's like
So
it's like winding down.
because there's something loose, you know, following the spinning.
Yeah, make more
magnet.
sounds. Whirlpool. All right, let's start.
I'm not ready. Yeah, I'm not ready. All right, I'm ready. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. And pardon me for keeping my nose, it's this itchy nose right now. And I hate it because we just came from outside, so there's that paranoia. But yes, we are on our...
It's not a long story.
Um,
We're wearing the same shirt. It's like the same size shirt. They're both my shirts.
Whirlpool. But yes, it's our 149th episode, and we are talking about surviving small talk.
Okay, Mitch, of course, suggested this topic. Actually, she just submitted it this week, and then I swear to God, it was the very first. I put all the topics in a random number generator, and then I hit enter, and it brought this one up first. Although we pull up like 5 and like we choose from 5 normally, this clearly was it. So the way Mitch originally wrote it is surviving the small talk. What? Why? How? I mean, it seems there's a culture thing. In the US, peeps are used to saying, how do you do? But for us Pinoys, we're not. And when we reply to the question, the one who asked may be interested in what you're talking about and just want to go straight to the agenda of the meeting and then saw this video. Although, ironically, didn't have time to watch the video because today was crazy busy. So, first off, I think...
Blowing my nose, sorry.
I think we totally... I don't think there's anything wrong with like Philippine culture in terms of handling small talk. In the sense that, how do you do or how are you as a question in conversational English, ironically, is not a question. Like
it's not meant to be answered.
You don't really expect a good answer. Hence, the default answer is normally "I'm fine," "I'm okay," things like that. But I feel like we ask it all the time in Filipino as well because it is literally "kamusta," which is like the first thing you kind of just throw out there to people, at least to friends. It's weird when it's like people you don't know and then they're like "kamusta," and like, no, you don't know my life. Don't ask me "kamusta."
And at work, it becomes that weird attempts to break the ice at the start of things, especially now with pandemic and all that. So like I've had video calls wherein, total strangers, first time to meet. And as people show up on the call, they're like, hey, so how are things? And I'm like, coping? Because what do you say in the time of pandemic when total strangers ask how you're doing?
Today is like, today or yesterday. I have so many calls this week. I have lost track. But there was a call this week that I popped in. I was the first one from my team on the call. And, I shut it down because then like, I guess I'm early. And then let's just wait for the rest. And then I went mute and then just totally legit strategy. So it really depends. Okay. But yeah, I get it now. It's like there's a lot of like slight awkwardness that happens, especially with all these video calls that we're all doing, and then like when you're waiting for people to join. So my number one always is like, especially if it's not an internal call, so it's with clients, then I think it's totally fine to be just like, hi, I'm blah 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 from company, and then we're expecting a few more people from our team, so we can start shortly, but. Or if you feel like you're still pressured to do a conversation, I normally be like, let me go check on where they are. And then I go mute. And then I look like I'm typing, and I could be just chatting. I'm on the bridge, it's open, but
so
different strategies.
So I'm in the same fence with Karen and Mitch, who have shared in the comments that they tend to overshare. And I know I tend to do that as well. But in my case, I love doing it intentionally.
Toby's trying to obfuscate his whatever stuff. And I we have disagreements over this approach. I mean, I'm like, I don't know. I don't always agree. Um, but okay, for me, uh, in terms of the how are you question, I think it's still in a professional setting, especially in a meeting or in a
Mhm.
call. I think it's totally fine to just say things are okay,
Mhm.
and you can politely like, how about you? But I don't think you need. You're not pressured to give any specific information. You're not pressured to really divulge how good or bad your day is. And since it's a business call, it's
Mhm.
like you don't really know each other. You want to have a decent foot, if not your best foot forward.
Mhm.
You don't need to lie and say it's great, But I think at a fine, okay, things are going well. That's like me. But admittedly, also most of my calls are not with local customers, or not with Philippine customers. I deal with overseas customers more,
Mhm.
and I think that's fine in terms of the cultural response.
Mhm.
So, Toby, what's your insight on handling this?
I just like connecting. So that's where I tend to end up oversharing because I don't really mind connecting with people. The problem, though, with that perspective is if I realize I don't want to connect with them, then it becomes very apparent how different I now reach out. So,
Consistency.
yeah, so like I've had instances with clients both in my previous jobs and in my current job we're in, the opening. So how are things? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm great. It's been blah blah blah, and I share because I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel like okay, you're dealing with someone who isn't here to just market to you. You're dealing with someone who's much more frank and much more this. But that's also part stratagem. And I know many companies do this because in many ways it's the good cop, bad cop approach. Um,
Hmm.
since I'm the creative person in the meeting who's not part of sales, it's the people who are in sales who do okay, so this is the bottom line. We have to talk about rates and it's gonna be this.
Yeah.
Whereas me being creative and not thinking of sales, I'll be the one with, oh yeah, there's lots of things we can do. And it's because there are lots of things we can do. But in a tech company, lots of things we can do is because it's either because there's a lot of time or a lot of money. And the lack of one means more of the other. So
Okay, then that's an interesting point of context. And then and if there's an understanding in your company and like
mm,
how that works in like your call flow, so to speak, then I guess that's fine. Admittedly, it's not like I'm totally cold on all calls. I reserve that sort of behavior
mhm,
more for like existing clients or long-term clients. Then we're super casual. Then
mhm.
it's like, oh my god, it's so crazy, and then like, oh my god, you're asking for so much again, and you're not paying enough.
I guess on our end, the super long time clients who we were casual with, we don't even small talk anymore. It's really more checking on each other now. So like when there's a meeting, it becomes, oh, so how's your kid?
Legitimate
It's
questions of
literally,
interest.
and then okay, let's talk about work now. And we have had clients that we are close to that it gets to a point that the meetings sometimes are part of other little affairs. We might meet up for a dinner meeting, and the dinner meeting turns out to be it's also the birthday of Ganyan. So that's what happens. Thankfully, I'm not anymore handling those type of meetings since the pandemic, so I kind of get to relax more and rest at home.
Yeah, it's really not the time for it. So Karen says that she feels like she has this problem also with friends.
Mhm.
When it comes to friends, I feel like the okay the if we damn, if we're gonna go into definitions, like I always feel like small talk per se um often feels like it's a social nicety more often than not,
To fill
right?
the silence.
You're filling the silence. It's something to do as you're standing around, and um so I feel like to some degree, if it's like really legit friends, like close friends, you don't like kind of like what Toby was saying, you don't really small talk
Anymore.
but you have genuine interests, and so you follow up
Mhm.
on things that are important
And
to each other.
and on the flip side, you might also be genuine friends that silence is fine.
Yes.
Because there are friendships wherein, the hi hellos are there, but afterwards, I'm gonna play my app, you're gonna play your app, and we're fine. And then maybe an hour later, what a hamburger. And then we're back together and we're talking again. But then that's how friendships are compared to small talk.
And
Small
Mina
talk,
is here too. Hello.
yeah, small talk tends to be, there's a new person in the group you don't know yet. So
It's a
hi!
party. It's a weird social event
And
with
then-
other people.
So that leads to your usual array of questions. So how did you meet? Or so is this your first time here? Or so what do you think? Are you new? Or how'd you get started in the hobby? Diba? It's little opening questions like that, which help at least not have you both awkwardly standing and wondering who will be the one to talk first. And I guess that's one thing that I could bring up when it comes to small talk. You have to decide when you know it's going to be a small talk situation. Let's say it's a party in a friend's house, and the next thing you know, oh, someone you don't know is near you, or it's a event, and then you have a mutual friend with a stranger who just walked in. So you know the small talk moment is going to happen because the two of you don't know each other. So the question now is, will you be the one to break the ice and at least have the upper hand on where you want the conversation to go? Or will you be the one to stay silent until they ask you something and then now you're forced to answer?
And
in
it's
some
like
way?
may not be something you're interested in. That's fair.
My advice is to always be the first one to ask, even if the question is stupid. So it can even be something as simple or as obvious as, I don't know you, hi. Because that allows you to, at least if you now have to cut the conversation closed, you still were the first one to start the conversation. So it doesn't look like you're just avoiding people. So parang, hi, that's gonna, okay, I'll restroom lang, and then you go. And that's fine. But at least you already opened up at the start.
I mean, like, and to be fair, like, okay, when going back to the thing about friends, and you probably don't need small talk with friends, or it's a good example, well, a weird example is when Toby and I eat out, we look very antisocial. We don't talk anymore. We just sit. I read. Toby is obligated to read because I'm reading. And then the whole meal will go by. And
Although I
don't talk a lot.
I will admit this is more because of the pandemic. Because prior to the pandemic, despite us reading, we'd still be talking because we talk about the food.
That's also true.
Diba? We'd be reading, and then the food comes. Oh my god, the food! And then we'd talk, we'll eat,
But
and
then-
we'd go back to the book.
But then we still look weird.
Mhm.
Like we don't look like we're on a date.
Mhm.
To be fair, we're just having dinner. But it's a thing. So, but I like there is the take advantage, take the bull by the horns and ask the first question.
Mhm.
I will add on that try to get to open-ended questions more than close-ended, because close-ended
It's
by
more-
the default doesn't go anywhere.
and close questions that require a closed response are very pressure.
They feel
cause
very
pressure.
interrogation
Yeah, because-
interview.
Something like, what do you know here? Compared to, so do you know other people here ba? Then that's a huge difference of feel for the person receiving the question. One feels more, oh my god, am I not welcome? The other one actually feels, okay, we're in the same boat.
Mm-mm.
So it's a little thing like that you can consider doing.
Yeah, I think Toby is a veteran of the small talk intro because of all the people in Obar who wander into our table area.
But I'm also very much okay.
Yes.
Because if I don't like someone, I don't feel the need to pretend I'm okay with the person.
Yun nga eh. So ironically, it's the complete strangers who have a better chance of interacting with Toby than people we already know and don't like. And then it's like, we're not gonna be super social nice with you while we're here.
I mean, I won't be rude, but at the same time,
We're not gonna be warm.
you will feel that I'm not making an effort, and it's because I just don't want to waste my time pretending I'm okay with someone I'm not. What else? Small talk. When it comes to small talk, I awkwardly fall into the trap of small talk in family events because I don't know most of them. And it's the sad but true admittance that one, of the cousins I do know, I now have trouble remembering them because I don't remember what they look like sometimes.
Okay.
And then two, I don't know the pamangkins or the children of my cousins and the grandchildren, and and that gets so much pressure because then everyone's super friendly. Ayan, si Tito Toby, say hi, o beso, kiss. And I'm like, okay, okay, who the hell are these people? I don't remember them. And I get very awkward. Um, and I guess what makes it worse for me is since they're family, all the more I can't ask because it's more embarrassing to like to ask.
My pro tip is not to attend reunions. but, but yeah, I mean it's inevitable. And I don't know because I'm really not that kind of a person. Or at least our family is not that kind of a family. And then when we do attend events, we just stay amongst ourselves and like not interact with extended family. We're kind of cold that way. And then we're just clustered, and it's only like really my core units of cousins at the most that we'll talk to, and that's about it.
Me, I'm no. I don't mind seeing family. I don't like lingering too long, only because there is a tendency in family reunions to start becoming talking about each other.
In what sense? Oh, like about each other behind their
Yeah,
back.
so like, oh, si ganyan, balita ko, ganyan, 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 ganyan. And I'm not a fan of that type of reunions. So I've kind of noticed that those tend to happen the longer a reunion gets. So parang if you meet up, you eat for lunch, and then it's time to go, that's perfect. But then if you stay, and then next thing you know, they're having dessert, and it's extended, ayun na, they're gonna start talking about this and that. And I know it's because in many ways, the older generation embrace that as the way they connect.
Yeah, gossip.
Gossip is part of the way they
Alfred
connect with
says
people.
he eats and goes. I am with you. That's like my number one
Mm-hmm.
strategy. Yeah, I've been thinking about it. Actually, I think about it recently because, like my high school batchmate, well, my high school classmates, just the class, not even the whole, because the batch is
Mhm.
ridiculously big. Um, we've mapped out some sort of an online reunion call this month, and then I don't know. It's like I haven't really talked to a lot of these people in forever, and like we're all friends on Facebook,
Mhm.
but then like who really interacts with school friends on Facebook apart from the very close ones? So like I don't really. I'm not. I feel like I'm not. It's. I feel like I'm gonna be in a call with strangers,
Mhm.
and I don't know. We'll just see how things go. And I'm probably not going to be the most. I mean, I've met up with them a few times over the years, but uh, yeah, it gets kind of weird. And then in those cases, sort of like the family situation, where family, it's always talking about other family.
Mhm.
School reunions, it's always talking about the one time we were all together, which was school.
Mhm.
So I know I'm going to rehear a bunch of old stories, which is fine. It's just how reunions are. And that's sort of like the obligatory small talk
Mhm.
of the age. Or going back to our earlier point about if you want to take control of the conversation, you be the one to bring up old stories. And I swear, in a school reunion setting, works like a charm.
Mhm.
Everybody will be talking about it. It's gonna dig up, and it snowballs on its own and judges teacher story after teacher story after teacher story.
Mhm. So Alfred shares also avoid drinking with cousins. That's true. Dessert time is the chica gossip time. It's the sign to leave. Karen shares the frustrating questions that tend to happen in family gatherings. Bakit di ka pa kinakasal? Yada yada. And it's hard to be chica because she gets moody. I get that. I think in my case, I just started bringing books or the tablet. And, I shut down and start reading if I just want to show I don't like to talk about something. And it might be seen as rude, but what I do is I still just join the conversations I like. So it might be talking about this and that, and then, oh, si ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. I'll get my tablet na, and I'll focus. But then once they start talking about something and I realize I can introduce something that's less about gossip and like, oh, I heard about the show, ganyan, ganyan. Then I join the conversation again.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the family context. But then these days, I mean, we're all adults now. Then totally feel free to tune out with a
Mm-mm.
phone. I'm sorry, it's like, or I don't know. I mean, like you can if you. It depends on how shameless you are to some degree. If you're shy, it can be the oh wait, I need to answer this, and then it's like pretend it's pretend it's a work chat or email and then wander off looking at your phone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to fake a call. It can just be I gotta respond to this, and then just wander out. That's one strategy. Technology gives us many outs for it, and then just find a nice corner and sit and play Takaido on your phone. I don't know.
And then there's also eating. Eating is a good escape because you can just eat, and then when they start talking to you about something uncomfortable, you look at them and then look at your plate, and then you say sorry, and then you just continue eating.
It's impolite to talk with your mouth full after all, so you don't really have to answer. I've never really got okay, to be fair, it's like on the one hand, I've never really gotten the awkward reunion questions. On the flip side, I'm also like
Rarely on
I rarely have reunions. So and then the few times I had school reunion things, and then it was the hey, Rocky became the super out gay person with a long term relationship, and they just don't ask. They just don't talk to me about it. I'll bring it up every now and then, or some will try to bring it up every now and then politely, but everyone else just doesn't touch it. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
So family small talk is always tricky because there is that feeling that you can't be rude. But I think as one gets older, one realizes that there's a difference between being rude and being assertive of what you want to be part of.
Mm-mm.
And simply deciding na parang, sige, you guys can continue, dun muna ako, is totally fine, totally acceptable. You are not required to be part of the conversation.
You're
if
never
you don't want to.
trapped in any particular conversation.
And know that if you don't want to be more direct about it, the indirect ways can always involve food, can involve bathroom. If you smoke, then you can say, sorry, Yossi, break muna ako. That's really up to you. Just know that if you need to for your own peace of mind, then by all means, don't be part of the conversation that you'd rather not be part of. Work, it's a bit trickier. Only because conversations and small talk at work. Okay, so we were talking about that in the perspective of clients. So that's tricky because you do have to put your best foot forward because you're speaking, even if not in an official position, you are representing the company.
Yeah.
So you have to maintain a certain semblance of an image that is appropriate to the company.
Yeah, and so many people get away with not even turning on their cameras and like, okay, fine,
But then there's small talk among office mates. Because an office, you don't necessarily know everyone.
Mm-mm.
And sometimes there are meetings with people you don't know, whether it's new hires or people who've been around for so long, but they're at different departments, so you never really meet them. And the next thing you know, you're all just there waiting, or someone tries to open a conversation just to break the ice, and you might feel different about it. With work, if you're working from home, then there's always that, guys, sige, I'll get back, may tinatapos lang ako. And you can exit from the active conversation very easily and just join back once the actual work begins. Beyond that, again, I don't think you're required to. But at the same time, work is tricky because you are bound to have to work with them eventually again. So you have to make sure the ties are nice.
Yeah, I mean, like work, you don't need at the end of the day, work, you don't need to be friends, but you need to be civil in a way that you can talk. But admittedly, like okay, because I always in all these cases I have this weird outlier situation. I work with my sister, and she is majority. She takes up most of the conversations I have at work involve her and her husband and the like, and so I'm fine. I don't have the small talk problem because it's like we're a very small team and a lot of our people have been with us for a very long time. So it's like we generally have stuff to talk about.
The tumataba ka quip, which Karen mentioned, yes, it's very annoying. It's very frustrating. That's kakasal ka na ba? Tumataba ka? Or kailan ka magkaka-boyfriend? Kailan ka magkaka-girlfriend? Or worse, alam na nga you broke up. O ba't kayo nag-break up? I mean, that's not small talk material. In cases like that, I know there have been times I went as far as, ikaw, malapit ka na mamatay. And when they don't laugh, I say, yeah, it's not funny, no? And I move on.
That's
me.
That's Toby. I mean, like when I used to get the tomato baka comment, and I'll just be like, I'm working hard on it, and then like, I mean, what can you do? I mean, man, I in my call center life, we were a company with Chinese owners, and um, it was totally within company culture to have the CEO going like, Rocky, you've gained weight, or the CFO being all, Rocky, I have a recipe for soup. It will help you. Thanks. And voila, it's the bosses that you just like, thank you. So that's not great small talk. Um, but yeah, I mean, like me, I try to deflect with humor.
Yeah.
When in doubt, just politely smile, then turn away. I mean, just exit the conversation. You're not really obliged. I don't know. That's me. Like if that person thinks it's being chummy, it's being rude. I would just check out. I mean, I'm happy now in the sense that I know because I'm in a different direction. I get different comments now, but I'll still get people who will probably ask something stupid sooner or later, and no thanks. You know, we're old enough to not have to subject ourselves to that. People really like your answer though.
Well, that's me. I'm like I said, I don't need people to like me in some occasions. Well, in most occasions. I'm just happy with the people I like who like me. Kenny shares, I'm now getting you're getting fat comments. I just be excited and say thank you. You can do that too. Just realize though that then now they feel like it's okay to say it again more often. That's why the response sometimes you have to at least assert to some level. Like it might even be something like, let's say it hits you bad, but then you look at the person and you go, not funny. And then just move on, and you don't have to attack back or what. But then by at least showing that you didn't appreciate that response, then they will probably realize they're the ones who are now in the spotlight.
That's valid. And it's like it's not a call out. It's not an angry reaction, but it is a firm like, I didn't like that, and then just check out.
Yeah, but know that in the end, there are a lot of people who do lift themselves up by putting others down, because that's the only way they think they can. And
that's just sad.
And that knowledge is something you should use to draw strength from, because you realize, okay, here's another one of those people. Because I did have an office mate who would go the lengths to find something wrong about you. This was an ABS.
Okay.
It'll be a meeting, and then every person
didn't have to say the company,
na dadating, hihirit siya. So like someone would come in, oh, tumataba ka. And then later, another person come in, oh, nagkasakit ka nung isang araw. Baka masyado ka nagda-drugs. And we know she's trying to sound hip and fun. But, people are like, no. But then we realized it was because no one invites her to stuff. So, yeah.
You wonder why? To be fair, and I think back to like my different companies, I never really had a super toxic, like, at least team environment. Like I think I always got stuck with pretty good teams. So
it's good.
I don't think I really had awkward situations like that very often. But yeah, I mean, like I'm sure for the most part, a few times I do encounter weird stuff. Then I'm like, I probably bark back with something witty, or at least I try something witty, and I'm very quick to retort in circumstances like this. It's like, I don't know. It's like the last time someone awkwardly like, I forgot where, I can't remember the content, but someone once asked the whole, so sinong babae, and like, ooh, that's not really how this works. That it's like, I like guys because they're guys. Thanks. So I don't know. It's like the tone is probably less than cordial, but then the words are just factual, neutral. That's me. And and you don't have to answer. I think that's the thing to remember. If it makes you feel bad, then check out and just step away from the conversation. I don't care if it's family or whatever. you don't need to deal with that. And then um, it's great if you want to work on a response or getting used to responding, but then you don't have to, because also you don't want to respond if you feel like your emotions are running high very quickly.
Yes.
Not a good time to say something.
So let's now shift the conversation as we end our first 30 minutes, but most likely we'll continue for part of the next 30. But let's shift the conversation to small talk which you can't avoid. For example, it's a date and it's, you're meeting someone, you don't really know each other yet, and now you have to do small talk because, you're warming up to actually having conversations.
I wonder if people still have this problem as much as before, given how many conversations now happen online
Mhm.
and stuff before meeting in person. It's not like before where you might have it might be a blind date, you might have been fixed up, or you just had very limited time to interact with the person.
I feel that it does still happen to some extent because even if you've been conversing, when you finally meet for the first time, there is that ice you still have to break. And the fact that if you have conversations you can draw from, then that is already the first tip. You know, because every small talk conversation tip is about finding that thing in common to talk about.
Mm.
And that's why the most generic thing is, grabe ang init, no? Talking about the weather.
The weather.
Everyone will respond about that. As stereotypical as it is the honest truth as something you can relate with.
The main principle behind the weather question
Mhm.
and why it's supposed to work is just that you're trying to find common ground.
Mhm.
Then you look at the most basic baseline, like universal human experience stuff, which is the weather. In the Philippines, it's traffic.
Mhm.
Um, it's our government, but then I would avoid
No,
politics.
avoid politics.
But it depends also. Like if you want to get it out right away, like, ooh, DDS, yes, no, So um, it's an important question these days. But yeah, and like I think, but if you have more specific information that you know that you have a common ground, because by now I feel like more people when they first meet in person,
That's
after chatting or emails or something,
or after a lot of responding to each other's posts
yeah,
on social media.
then at least you have more specific common ground
Mhm.
that you can focus on. I mean, like when Toby and I first met in person, it was specifically to play a then defunct card game.
Mhm.
And so that really set the tone for the night, that we just talked about old geeky things
Mhm.
and discovered more and more stuff that we like at the same time. And and I admittedly, it's part of the why we ended up together is that the conversation flowed so freely and we just kept talking. Which is, which is lucky, but it's also because we sort of had preamble and like we know like all the stuff that we knew a lot of things that we had in common.
So
Mina says,
Mina
actually
shares.
meeting online and doing small talk is harder because you're pressured to say something to each other. Seeing them looking at the screen is pressure enough to respond or continue the talk. It really depends on the circumstance, I feel. I mean, for me, it's like, um, you're on a call for a purpose. So the only reason that you guys should be talking on the call is for the purpose of the call.
Mhm.
So everything else is just bonus
Mhm.
window dressing, right? And like, so if it's a work call, then I do not feel any pressure
Mhm.
to make small talk because I'm here to discuss a meeting. If it's a family call, um, I guess it really depends on who's on the call. My family calls are only my immediate family, and we talk or we wander off, and like we're just. I mean, like people know that I walk around to do steps for my Fitbit, and I have taken calls and I've listened to my family talk while walking, and then they see my background just changing back and forth, and they're just used to it. So again, I don't feel the pressure there.
So on a related note on Mina's statement, um, it also is harder because online communication is harder.
Yes.
There is no um, there's a lot lost in the transmission of messages online, body language, the term that they use in shows, micro expressions, stuff like that. There's a lot of subtle, unconscious things that you actually pick up from each other when you're conversing, and the loss of that, plus the temporal delays that happen in transmissions. I mean, we all know of calls wherein you say something and then you're like, it's quiet. Can you hear me? Is anyone there? Is anyone? Then people start overlapping. Yes, I can hear you. And all that is because of these lost social cues and body language and small minor communications. And that is very stressful. More so because many of us actually are reading the other people as you are speaking. So as you're telling them something, you're already watching and unconsciously adjusting how you're talking to them. If you notice they're like looking away, you're starting to raise your voice to get their attention more. If you notice they're listening intently, you're starting to smile, you're starting to adjust. And the loss of all of that is very, very stressful in communication. And that's why small talk, as well as meetings, presentations, performances, they're all so much more exhausting when it's done on the online medium.
Yeah, and then of course, not everybody has their camera on, so you can't even see what they're doing. And then the proper video call etiquette of you should be on mute when you're not talking means that more often than not, if you are the primary speaker, you are talking to absolutely dead air. And that's unnerving to talk and not have even like small reactions to what you're saying.
And even after that, if you do ask for a response, you still have to give that 1-2 second allowance for the person to hear you ask for a response, reach and
unmute,
hit the hotkey or unmute, and then finally say something. And that 1-2 second gap is an eternity that feels so much pressure. Because sometimes you'd be like, so yeah, so that's how it is. And grabe na ang kulit. And then no one responds. And there's already that feeling of, wait, what? And then that's when you hear delayed. Yeah. So it's not easy.
Not a great medium. But if you are the primary speaker, I mean, for a work-related call, you're the primary speaker. Again, you're only obligated to talk about whatever the subject of the meeting is. And then what I've learned in some of the recent calls that we do is like when we're doing checks, it's like when you want to stop and like, does anybody have any questions? Instead of just saying that, I now add on, feel free to use the chat box if you don't want to talk, or come on off mute, and then we'll respond accordingly. Anyone? Okay, I don't see any chats yet, so I'm gonna continue on. But then if you do have a question, feel free to jump in later on. So that's like my interim now, and I found that more useful in group settings where people are awkward about coming off mute to speak. Directing them to chat becomes like a less aggressive way of doing it.
So going back to small talk where you do want to engage in and you need some tips or ideas on how to do it. Common ground is the first recommendation.
Yeah.
Beyond that, what else can we recommend?
You can roll the dice with pop culture in the sense that whatever is the big thing that everybody's talking about that you are also in the know of, then that's always something to throw out. And you risk spoiling some people, but I mean then it's the polite, like, for example, is everybody watching WandaVision? And then you'll kind of have people chiming in, then you may not necessarily be able to talk about specific episodes because people may be at different points in the show. But then it's like, oh, it's so great, right? And like, I'm super enjoying it. Are you guys enjoying it? And then it's the common ground hook. But it really depends on like what's happening.
If you ever find yourself not relating, so let's say someone goes, "Grabe, ang saya ng ganyang show, no?" And then you don't watch it. There's no harm in admitting, I don't watch it. But if you leave it at that, it becomes awkward for you both. So at least consider throwing back something, even if that person won't connect to it either. But at least there was a little back and forth, and that will give you both momentum for the next thing to bring up as small talk. So if someone goes parang, oh, did you see that latest show? That Lovecraft, ganyan? and then I don't watch it. If you leave it there, then you both feel awkward. You feel like you've ended a conversation, and now you feel bad about it. The other person feels like they were stupid to bring it up. But then if you like offer something else, no, I watch no more, and then I also watch ganyan sometimes.
Or
Then,
alternatively, like, why is it good? Why do
yeah,
you what's good about it? You know?
you can also do that. Have them talk about it because there are people who also like to talk. And admittedly, sometimes small talk is just providing responses that you're listening.
Active listening. Isn't it the weird when training defines active listening, it's nonverbals as cues to keep the conversation going. Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. Minor jokes. Maybe the new small talk question will be, "Have you had the vaccine?" And I totally foresee that coming.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that though because that will always lead to government talk. And politics and government is always a recipe for trouble and conversations with strangers.
Yeah. Mitch, of course, the plea that have chat visible to the speaker when presenting, like Zoom, but hidden to the audience. What I hate though in Zoom when I'm the audience, and then I keep getting pop ups for every single chat message in a group call, and like I don't need to see all your chats. But each platform has its challenges.
A lot.
That's a missed call. We're talking about work tomorrow. Sorry. Okay. Toby, carry on.
Hmm. So, as expected, religion, politics, um, news are always tricky topics to bring up. Um, Politics may include everything from personal politics, gender politics, to um, even now a lot of the more um, sensitive discussions that happen in regards to pop culture and the like. It's not that they're not conversation pieces, but with total strangers, it is very dangerous ground. The last thing you want to do is for people to react very oddly based on that topic if you bring it up too soon. However, if you are the type of person who would just want to get over with it, let's say it's a date and it's someone you're meeting for the first time and you might as well know na if they're ganyan, then bring it up. Because at least you spare yourself the trouble of having to learn later on that, oh no, they have that perspective. Just bear in mind that doing so paints you in that certain way as well. So it is a two-way street. Ultimately.
Questions are revealing of the person. The type of questions you ask indicate a lot about who you are as well. And so yeah, so like it just really depends. And dating is kind of different in the sense that by that point, I would assume it's you're getting out of the small talk territory and into the evaluating this person as a prospective match territory, which is a whole other topic in itself. But yeah, so but I guess yes. For small talk, it's a lot about common ground. Hence, Mina saying that food is the best topic. Yes, because food is universally accepted. It's like food and pets. It's like things that you automatically like on social media, like on Instagram and stuff. The low barrier content that
unless it
easier engagement.
unless it hits a hard wall. Parang, grabe ang sarap ng hamburgers na I'm vegetarian.
Well, and then that's just it really it's gonna happen. But you keep trying. It's not as bad. It's not as offensive as a religion block and the like. Because I think the few times I've wandered close to the, so aren't you getting married or do you have a wife? And oh no, I'm super gay. I like throwing that out. Super gay and the law won't let me. So thanks. Ting. Kenny said, I think religion and political topics only brought up if it's an important thing in your life. Okay, to be fair, I think in general they are important to people's lives. But I guess because the goal of small talk, if we were to define it, it's killing time.
Yes.
Until you do what you're actually supposed to be doing, which is more likely, like if it's work, it's a meeting. If it's a social event, you're there for someone's birthday or whatever. then you're waiting for that to happen. So I don't think you need to set out to like establish your principles in life with strangers, because they don't really care, and you shouldn't care about their opinion.
Mm. And then last, I guess for me, unless you have more to cover, but if it's a public situation, sorry, let me rephrase that. If it's a situation where you're both strangers, let's say it's an event and you're supposed to wait and you're left with someone who's also waiting, and now it's this awkward, okay, we're both waiting anyway, maybe we should talk or something. Then stick to the obvious. If let's say you're both waiting for the job interview and the other person is looking at you and there's that sudden realization, okay, now it's awkward because we're both here, we're not talking, and you feel like you need to small talk. Because if you don't feel like it, then don't. But you feel like you need to, then stick to the obvious. Talk about things that you can readily see around you. It could be something as simple as how you found where you are. It could be talking about if the other person already has looked around and stuff like that. It allows you to keep the topic more minimal. It allows you to simply show that you at least acknowledge the person was there, the presence was there, and then it allows you to close it off afterwards quickly. So parang, nahirapan ka rin ba finding this place? And then, hindi naman. Okay. And then that's it. You're fine. You've done your piece. You talk to him. You've got the person to say something back, and you can close off again. And it feels less awkward because at least you're not both pretending the other isn't in the room.
Or you can not care and look at your phone. Okay, Alfred shares the topic he's having a hard time answering is about mental health. A lot of people are now asking advice and don't know how to answer them, especially if we're not close. Well, one, I don't know if this is still a small talk thing. They may be genuinely asking for help. So that's like a legit conversation and not a small talk conversation. But then two, then I don't think it's rude to say that, you may not be the best person to talk to. And then if you don't want to cite not being close, you can always cite that, you're not an expert at this, you're not a professional.
I'm not in the position to be the one to talk to you about this.
I mean, like for both health and mental health issues, I would always be like, are you seeing a doctor? Are you seeing someone professionally about it? Because they're the best person to help you. And then like, yep, out. Because you don't want to be caught giving bad advice or incorrect advice for things as sensitive as that. I mean, like if it's close friends, then sure. But then like even when some friends ask questions, and then I don't feel like it's a like relationship questions that come up among friends, which again, it's not small talk. It's like legit. You're just talking already. I will typically divert away because a lot of times, especially relationship, it's like it really depends on you guys and like what your agreement is, what your understanding is, and I would just go back to that because I don't want to meddle. I don't know all the facts. I'm not hearing the other person, so I don't want to be that guy. And that's really a choice that's free to make and stuff.
So Alfred just adds, yung biglang nag-PPM, natatakot ako sumagot. I don't think that's small talk, dude.
Yeah.
That sounds weird. And then Mitch added, anyone have the feeling when you're in a new place and a lot of people in your mind, I hope no one will talk to me a lot. That's an often feeling I have. I even have that when I'm shopping. I don't like, sir, can I help you? I'm fine. I'll tell you when I need you. Karen also shares, as a depressive, I'm open about it. When I bring up the topic, I appreciate even if a person listens. That actually I've noticed as well in some of the conversations I had. And I have actually tried asking na parang, it's okay, you can, I can just listen, but I don't think I'll have anything I can share. And if the person says it's okay, I just need to let it out, then, But that also feels a little bit beyond small talk na, and really more something that happens because the person feels they can trust you and talk to you about it. Mina mentions, attended a conference abroad and small talk was about PHGDP. Stressful.
I would just avoid,
And then there's also, I don't like talking to unknowns sa gym.
I don't talk to people at the. I mean, when I used to go to the gym, I didn't talk to anyone. I just have my headphones on. I go in, I work out, I step away, I'm done. Bye.
Yeah, I don't
So
like talking to people in the restroom. What? Because people have talked to me in the restroom.
yep, and you told them to die, that they are dying, or that if the world was going to end and they were like you were two were the last people on Earth, the answer would still be no. Toby like has awesome like ways to end conversations with people he doesn't know and with people he knows. But it's that's Toby's extent. Um, yeah. So I mean, like, and then for Alfred stuff, it's like okay, because I feel like PMs are not. Was this when you start a private message? Okay, that's not small talk.
The person already added you, so there is that feeling of you've gone a certain level beyond small talk.
Yeah, yeah. So because small talk, I really feel it really belongs more in the category of people you're not super familiar with, more often than not strangers or remotely connected,
And then
whatever
you have
acquaintances,
to fill
and
the
you're
silence.
forced to do it because it's a small talk is a filler
Mm.
for something else. But then people legit reaching out for help, ooh, that's different. And then maybe just refer them to like the professionals,
Mm.
regardless of the field. Yeah, I admit I've gotten a little better at sort of the I always say a small talk in terms of work because that's like the most often situation where um I have to deal with killing time before something happens. And I'll admit my years in training and teaching helped me um, get over that, and so I can ride on conversations in and out, and then I just politely step away as needed. Um, and then what else? There was another circumstance I can't remember suddenly. Kenny says, unless you're the type of person who adds people for the number reach, oh yeah, then sad for you. You have a bunch of strangers on your social. Whereas me, I'm constantly asking, why are you adding me? Who are you? Why are you following me? We're so we're so weird. We're so I guard who and I'll really be like, sorry, I only add like actual friends on Facebook or something, or people I know on Facebook. To each his or her own.
I guess close if you really don't want to,
Don't.
and you are not. They're not getting the signal because you're not responding. You know, blah 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 blah. You don't look at the person. You focus on the book. Oh, what are you reading? They keep trying. Then you can just be direct and say, "Sorry, I don't do small talk," and then you just go back to what you're doing. Now, if they still badger you with anything, then now that is the signal. You can open the floodgates to hell and tell them off for not respecting your personal space. We need to protect our personal space.
Personal space. Personal space.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's it. Who are you? Why are you adding me? Yes, we have asked that questions to many people. Karen mentions Facebook etiquette. Oh, I always friend back anyone who adds me.
Oh, I don't.
Okay, Karen, I think for you it's because you also have been a performer. So it's, there are people who have seen your work and they've added you or reached out to you. So that's part of it. I know I also have in some cases similar instances because books I've released,
Yeah, public
or
events
talks
you
I've
do.
given. So I've had people add me and I'm like, I do message them like, hello, I don't know you and I probably don't remember. Can you please help enlighten me to why you're adding me? And then sometimes they'll respond with, oh, I got your game, or oh, thank you for adding me back. I heard your talk, or even some, oh, because I'm friends with Ganyan and he was someone who said that he recommended you. But then there are some who completely respond with, which clearly shows they don't know me. And it's not even because they heard of my work or anything, it's because they just added me and I'm like, sorry, I don't do that, and then I just decline.
Declining is fun. I like cleaning up I don't like pending friend invites. I like getting rid of them. And then
Driver talk. Oh my god. Okay, I think we can end with driver
wait,
talk.
wait. So yeah, we can do that. Let me. And then on the social media front also. I mean, like even as a performer and the like, because like I would. For, to be fair, I feel generally obligated to add back people I work with and like okay, we'll be Facebook friends for a while, but I will admit if I don't really care about their updates, after 3 months I unfriend them.
Mhm.
I regularly sit down and look at my friend list and I go through every person and then like do I really know these people and the like. And then if you really want something for your performer side or your public persona side, then you can leave that to like if you have a Facebook page, a public page, then you can always direct them there and you don't have to feel obligated to add them back as friends on your personal page. And you know, so that's why Toby and I always get into the when an unknown person adds me, which happens because anyone adding me on Facebook is a rarity because I know I make it hard. And then when it does happen and I don't recognize the person,
That's because
I
you make
will
it hard.
I I will literally uh I will literally start a conversation like, "Hey, I saw your friend request. I don't think I don't remember if we've met in person yet. If we have, could you refresh my memory?" And half the time the friend request disappears on its own. Um,
Mhm.
a few times they'll be like, "I just want to make friends." Okay. I mean, sometimes I'll humor them. Most of the times I'm like, that's not really what I do. And it's really up to you to define like how you do your friend scope and the like. I'm the same way on Twitter, and Twitter is my public. My feed is public, and anybody can add me.
Mhm.
So I can't stop it. But like if people try, I will take a look and I'll decide if I want to follow them back. But I don't feel obligated to follow back people. And then in fact, I also cleaned up my Twitter feed. If I there are people I really don't like or like they're super porny or whatever, or it's obviously like you know pyramid scheme selling,
For the rich,
soft block, which is you block and unblock.
because they hope to become rich.
Oh wow. You are not the first person to make this joke. It's still not going to work. Okay. And then, but yeah, on Twitter, the soft block is your friend because they don't know they've been blocked. They won't know that you're unblocked, and then they just lose contact. The few times on Facebook when work colleagues notice that they're no longer friends, then I get into the awkward, like, oh, I don't know. Like, how are we not friends? I thought we were, but we're really not that close. So I concede. I regularly clean up, and then oh my god, now like the longer like I haven't worked with certain people, oh, I really want to get them off my feet. So your social media is your own. So don't feel obligated to keep people that you don't know and don't want to see your closer stuff. If you feel like you can never post stuff because you have all these weird people on your feed, get rid of them. That's my approach.
So going back to small talk.
During taxi and grab drives. Ooh, ooh. I do not talk. Like they can throw out questions and normally I just do the mm. Sort of affirmative negative and then ay nako. Because I don't want to encourage them. And then I visibly show I'm reading a book or something or reading my Kindle.
Mm.
How about you, Toby?
Um, so I usually start by setting the stage. And that includes, pakipatay yung radyo.
Toby says this all the time.
Because the moment they feel they can control the radio, then they feel they can start a conversation or they can change the station and all that. So I already shut that down. I go in, pakipatay yung radyo. Normally that's followed by the aircon. Okay, adjusting aircon. But then once that's there, if I feel like I can't do that, or let's say I'm not in the power mode, so I don't feel like I'm strong enough to just ask for it to be shut down, then I step in and I pull out my phone and say, pwede pakipatayin ko yung radyo, and then I'll hold the phone up to imply I'm doing a call. So at least they understand why I want it quiet. And then I can just ignore them now and have my headset on and read or whatever. There have been a few occasions that I did bother with small talk And it's more because the conversation was actually interesting. But typically, on the rare occasions that I commute, um, I don't really engage with people. But I notice I do give advice. There have been a bunch of those drivers who end up asking me about this and that. But yeah.
Oh wow, Alfred had a driver who tried to sell him weed because he just got out of a concert. Well, I guess that's reading the market.
Yeah. Although that's tricky rin kasi mamaya that's a
Sting.
sting operation.
Nowadays, anything is a buy bust operation, ladies and gentlemen.
Keep in mind
so-
they don't talk to
yeah.
each other, so you never know. Mitch says I watch Netflix during those rides or sleep. Just make sure you always lock the door and windows, because last thing you want is to be too occupied with the show and then someone grabs your stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, those kind of gangs. Oh man, street crime.
Yeah. But yeah, also realize that a lot of them are breaking into that conversation because they're probably just dying to talk to people because they've been driving for hours. So don't take it personal, but don't also feel obligated. In the end, small talk is not supposed to be a big deal. It's supposed to be small talk. It's supposed to be.
It's a nice nothing.
Mhm. So don't feel guilty for treating it as nothing, especially when it's not nice.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you don't, if it's really not in your nature to do it, to get into it, or you feel like you're not with people that aren't worth it, then really don't feel obligated. I mean, like, that's like, I think we've said it many, many times, but I think that's the first thing to remember, because a lot of people feel trapped in social situations, and that you feel like you have to do something. And like, no, you totally don't. We're all adults. There's more important things to do, and small talk is not on the agenda.
Mhm.
So sorry.
And the last thing you can do, if you're being forced to be part of small talk, is you choose a corner in the room where then you will stare and look at and give facial reactions as if there was a camera. So if the person saying something odd, yeah, I know, they'll stop talking to you.
Miranda yet. Or Fleabag yet, apparently.
I guess that's it. Do you have anything else? Because I'm good.
You try that in an event we're together. You're very upset.
What?
We're in this together. Okay. We fight the social awkwardness together. Don't create a fake audience. It's gonna freak me out.
Ano ka ba? We've had our mini conversations when the person's not looking.
Yeah, but it's us. That's like we're not pretending to talk to someone else, you know. And we call out people to their face. So it's not a problem. Fourth Wall submitted that topic.
Okay, I guess that's it. That is it. This episode was definitely not small talk. It was a lot of deep talk, and we will end it still as a small
Is
talk.
deep talk the opposite of small talk? That's another topic. Okay.
But it's definitely it's been it's more than an hour. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill out the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. Thanks again to Mitch for tonight's topic and what was clearly not small talk. You can follow us on Twitter, Altobi No Shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. Unless you're feeling socially awkward, then don't, and check out. Be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Good night, everyone.